A movie studio once spent millions of dollars because they completely misunderstood a joke. Another company threw away years of planning because of a 2-minute video that was never supposed to be seen. And one canceled TV show refused to die, even though it had already been off the air for years. None of these decisions were planned. None of them were accidents. And somehow, they all happened for the exact same reason. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Hollywood has a secret it doesn't really like talking about. Sometimes, the people making the movies aren't actually the ones making the decisions. Because over the last 20 years, something strange has happened. Studios have canceled movies, then brought them back. Ignored fans, then quietly admitted they were right. Even spent tens of millions of dollars fixing mistakes they swore they'd never fix. The weird part? Nobody voted. Nobody was elected. And yet, somehow, complete strangers on the internet kept winning. So, how does that even happen? How do millions of people who have never met each other somehow convince billion-dollar companies to completely change course? Well, it turns out it doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly. One forum post became thousands. Thousands became online communities. Those communities became movements. And before Hollywood really understood what was happening, the audience had discovered something. If enough people cared about the same thing at the same time, studios eventually had to listen. Some of these moments completely changed the entertainment industry. Others became expensive cautionary tales. Either way, every story on this list proves the same thing. The internet stopped being just an audience and started becoming part of the decision-making process. Let's start with one of the very first times that happened. A canceled little sci-fi show called Firefly. Let's start with one that happened before Twitter, before Facebook, before social media really looked the way it does today. Back in 2002, Firefly looked completely doomed. The show was created by Joss Whedon, fresh off the success of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Fox picked it up expecting another hit. But almost immediately things started going wrong. Fox didn't even air the episodes in the correct order. They kept changing the time slot, delayed episodes, and, weirdly, they didn't even air the actual pilot first. Viewers were basically thrown into the middle of the story without any proper introduction to the characters. Ratings dropped. Fox canceled the show before all 14 completed episodes had even aired. Normally, that's it. End of story. Except, fans weren't ready to let it go. Instead of disappearing, people started gathering on early internet forums. They called themselves the Browncoats, named after the rebels in the show. And they became, honestly, one of the earliest examples of an online fandom refusing to move on. Every time someone asked for a sci-fi recommendation online, someone would say, "Watch Firefly." People bought the DVD box set. Then they told more people to buy the DVD box set. Then those people recommended it again. It became this constant cycle where the internet kept introducing new viewers years after the show had already been canceled. Eventually, Universal Pictures noticed something strange. The DVDs were selling incredibly well for a dead show. So instead of making another season, they did something almost unheard of. They made a feature film. Serenity released in 2005, giving fans an ending they never thought they'd get. Nowadays, we're used to canceled shows getting revived. Back then, that almost never happened. And Firefly proved something really important. The internet didn't just keep conversations alive. It could keep entire franchises alive. Okay, this one isn't even entertainment, it's soda. And somehow, it's one of the best examples of the internet changing a company's mind. Surge launched in the late 90s as Coca-Cola's answer to Mountain Dew. It had this loud, extreme marketing campaign that fit perfectly with the era. But by 2003, sales had slowed down, and Coca-Cola quietly discontinued it. Usually when a drink disappears, that's it. Companies move on, fans move on. Not this time. Years later, people were still talking about Surge online. Dedicated websites appeared, forums stayed active. Eventually, Facebook groups started popping up, and one of them, called the Surge Movement, became surprisingly organized. This wasn't just people saying they missed the drink. They contacted Coca-Cola directly, organized petitions, encouraged everyone to post about Surge on social media. They basically spent years trying to convince one of the biggest companies in the world that they'd made a mistake. And Eventually, Coca-Cola agreed. In 2014, 11 years after discontinuing the drink, they brought Surge back. Not because of traditional market research, because thousands of people on the internet refused to stop asking. It even returned through Amazon first, almost like Coca-Cola wanted to test whether all that online enthusiasm was actually real. Turns out, it was. This one almost feels like a conspiracy story, because, in a way, it kind of is. After X-Men Origins Wolverine came out in 2009, fans absolutely hated what they'd done to Deadpool. The merc with a mouth couldn't talk. It was almost impressive how badly they'd misunderstood the character. Ryan Reynolds wanted another shot. The writers wanted another shot. Director Tim Miller even made this incredible test sequence showing exactly what a comic-accurate Deadpool movie could look like. Fox still said no. They thought an R-rated superhero movie was commercial suicide. Then, somehow, that footage leaked onto the internet. Nobody officially took responsibility at the time, but millions of people watched it almost overnight. Reddit exploded, YouTube exploded, comic fans exploded. The reaction was so overwhelmingly positive that Fox suddenly had something they didn't have before. Proof. Not guesses, not focus groups. Millions of real people saying, "We'll pay to watch this." The movie got greenlit. Years later, Ryan Reynolds joked that he had, let's just say, helped the footage find its way online. Whether he did or not, one leaked video completely changed the future of superhero movies. Movie studios usually don't admit mistakes, especially expensive ones. Then Paramount released the first Sonic trailer, and wow, people hated it. Not because Sonic looked different, because he looked unsettling. Tiny eyes, human teeth, realistic muscles. It somehow managed to look almost human and almost cartoon, at exactly the wrong ratio. The memes started immediately. Artists online began redesigning Sonic within hours. And here's the interesting part. Most of them weren't making fun of Paramount. They were showing exactly how easy it would be to fix. A few weeks later, director Jeff Fowler posted online saying they'd heard the feedback. The movie would be delayed. The character would be rebuilt. That decision reportedly cost millions of dollars, months of extra work. But when the movie finally came out, people loved the redesign. Sonic became one of the biggest success stories in video game movies. And suddenly, studios realized something. Sometimes the internet actually is right. People remember the hashtag. What they sometimes forget is just how long it lasted. After the theatrical release of Justice League, fans believed Zack Snyder's original version still existed. Warner Brothers wasn't interested. For years, the answer was basically no. The campaign didn't stop. Fans raised money for charity, bought billboards, flew banners over Comic-Con, even rented planes carrying hashtag Release the Snyder Cut messages. It wasn't just trending on Twitter anymore. It had become an organized movement. Then HBO Max launched. Warner Brothers suddenly needed exclusive content, and after years of saying no, they changed their minds. The company reportedly spent around $70 million finishing Zack Snyder's version, not remaking it, finishing it. A 4-hour movie, released because the internet simply refused to give up. Whether you love the Snyder Cut or hate it, there's no denying it changed Hollywood. Studios suddenly realized fan campaigns could become impossible to ignore. And finally, the funniest story on this list. Morbius came out in 2022. Reviews weren't great. The box office wasn't great. Normally, people would have forgotten about it. Instead, the internet decided to pretend it was the greatest movie ever made. It made a more $1 billion. It's Morbin time. The funny thing is, neither of those things were real. People were in on the joke, except Sony apparently wasn't. The memes became so widespread that Sony believed people genuinely wanted another chance to see the film. So they put it back into theaters, nationwide, for a second release. It bombed, again. The internet had successfully convinced a major Hollywood studio that irony was the same thing as demand. It wasn't. And Morbius became the perfect reminder that while the internet can absolutely change billion-dollar decisions, sometimes the internet is just trolling everyone. So, what do all these stories have in common? They're not really about movies, or TV shows, or even soda. They're about something much bigger. For decades, companies decided what audiences wanted. Now, audiences can answer back. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're completely wrong. Sometimes they save a franchise. Sometimes they accidentally convince a studio to waste millions of dollars. But one thing's pretty clear. The internet isn't just watching media anymore. It's helping shape it. And honestly, I don't think Hollywood expected that to happen. Please, if you would like and subscribe, it really helps out.